Speaking of video games, I guess I'm probably going to talk about them in every single podcast because I love them so much. But Call of Duty just announced that they are going to have an AI moderator in voice chats. And if you know, you know, it's probably a good thing. Call of Duty was the birth of the Wild West, in like 2007. I'm 16 years old, and you go to play these games online, and there are no filters. You're put into a game that the AI, the computer, the matchmaker decided to place you against these other people, and traditionally it would be location based, so you're gonna play people that are closer to you, but that wasn't always the case. It didn't have to be true. You could play people on the West Coast, you could play people overseas, but you were just getting put into games, and these other people could say whatever they wanted. And it was the Wild West. There was no one telling them that they couldn't do that. You'd hope their parents would say something, but some of these people were parents and they were psychos online. And unfortunately, Call of Duty still seems to be stuck in that mindset where, the outlaws were in such great numbers, and sure, their numbers have dwindled because of private party chats and people just straight up not wanting to be in voice chat anymore because of all the trauma. Like, it was rare back in the day for someone not to have a microphone because it was so novel, it was so new, it was fun to use most of the time, and it could get pretty bad pretty quickly. And now people are like super anti voice chat for anxiety issues and toxicity and a whole bunch of things. But just because the numbers have dwindled doesn't mean that the group of outlaws isn't still so large that they cause a problem. And you can go into voice chats, you could play a game of Call of Duty and hear some really obnoxious and hateful things being said. Not necessarily to you, they don't know who you are, but they'll be saying really hateful things. And like, it's definitely just a distraction. And you're like, what are you doing with your life, man? So, out of all the games to have Big Brother watching, I think it's at least understandable that there is now a police force in the Wild West. However, it can't be a good thing. There's no way it could be a good thing for an AI to listen to you and to cast judgment on you, to moderate your speech, to moderate your communication. And I'm not even thinking about like, oh, you should be able to say whatever you want. Like, I don't think that at all. I'm literally more concerned about false positives. What if it thought you said something, but you didn't? There's no bartering with an AI, and I know that's one of my biggest goals, my biggest dreams. I can't wait till there's an AI bartering system. But for now, it's much more a cold, calculated, if this, then that. If it thinks you said something, this could be people with accents, this could be people getting tricked into saying something, this could be people mispronouncing something. This could be the case of, oh, a certain word now has taken on a new meaning because of some online movement and they've associated a new word with a really terrible thing. So now all of a sudden you can't say that word anymore. And maybe you didn't know that. And maybe you say, maybe water bottle all of a sudden means something super, super hateful or racist or something. And you didn't know that because, like, why would water bottle mean anything bad? But now you say that online, and now you get like, do you know what I'm trying to say? There's just no way an AI voice moderator could ever be a good thing. Why would people be in voice chat then? I think that's just going to kill voice chat. Like, if you knew your parents were listening to every conversation you've ever had, how many friends do you think you'd make? You know how hard it would be to act yourself, to be yourself, and it's not about the extremes. It's not about being able to say whatever you want. I don't think about that at all because I don't think most people are like that. But people act differently when a camera is on. Particles act differently when there's an observer. If you don't think that changes us, it changes you. And I think we're smart enough to realize that we're being watched. When you're freaking cheating on a test and you can tell when the teacher's looking at you. Our brains are smart enough to know when we're being observed. I think it would be very uncomfortable for us to speak knowing we were being listened to. And like, I guess I'm not necessarily against how some of these other games do it. I know there's a thing where, at least on PlayStation, possibly in the last 12 months, where if you're reported in a game for hate speech or something, the game can retroactively like record the conversation to, match the report against the truth. And if you're reported for saying something mean and you said something mean, there you go. That's the evidence. And I think I'm okay with that as long as it's retroactive. But my understanding is that these new AI moderators, at least in Call of Duty, it's just listening to you. And if you step out of line, you get punished. Again, I'll say having police in the Wild West, generally 2 thumbs up. It's probably a good thing. But at the same time, it's not police in the Wild West. It's someone listening to you talk. And it's a robot listening to you talk. Historically, robots aren't the best with context. They're like, what if you were playing music and in the lyrics to the song, it said something bad? It referenced whatever you can think of. Is that you? Does it know your voice, or does it just know the words coming out of a certain signal? Your microphone lights up because it hears something, but it was just music being played. And now all of a sudden you're responsible for the words that someone else said without any context. Maybe the AI is going to be smart enough to understand, but why would it be? There's no way you're going to implement something like this and let the AI have any nuance to it. You wouldn't want nuance, because then you get into the problem of, well, they said this, they didn't get in trouble. I said this, I got in trouble. In hockey, there's a thing where basically you can't retaliate. If you get slashed and there's no penalty, you can't slash the other person back. You'll get the penalty for slashing. And you'll say, well, he hit me first. And it's completely understandable. And that's why it's so frustrating. But you cannot retaliate. If you give an AI any sort of judgment calls where they can decide a 50-50 gray area, you're just opening the door to, like I said, he said that, I said this, why did I get in trouble but he didn't? I think if you're going to implement a voice moderation system, it has to be black and white. It has to be, this word is not allowed. There needs to be like a list of rules. It's going to be a long list. Like, is it going to understand topics and innuendo? And then like, what if people just come up with new words to say certain things? Like, oh, I mentioned the water bottle thing earlier, and it's like, humans will find, what is going to happen? Oh, it's just such a bad idea to have voice moderation. It's only going to spur the worst in people. Because instead of focusing on being nice, people are going to focus on different ways to be mean. The more I think about that, the more it kind of worries me.